Shalom everyone and welcome to Busisiwe, blessed in English, Baruch in Hebrew, which means increase, fruitfulness and multiplication. My name is Abigail. We're continuing with the series titled The Reign of Yahuah. And in the previous teaching, we were looking at the definition of what is the reign of Yahuah, seeing it is that important that we know about the reign of Yahuah in order for us to live in this reign of Yahuah, who is our King. We saw the definition in Romans 14, verse 17, and Shaul starts by defining the reign of Yahuah by what it is not. And he says, the reign of Yahuah is not eating and drinking. That's what we went through in the previous teaching. Today, then, we continue with this definition of Romans 14, verse 17. And it says, it is not eating and drinking, but obedience, peace, joy, in the Ruach HaKodesh, or in the Ruach of Yahuah. So in today's teaching, we'll be looking at unpacking what is obedience. And if we look at obedience from Hebrew, it is the word for obedience in Hebrew, it is Shama. What does Shama means? What does Shama mean? Shama means to listen, to give attention to understand, and to submit or subject yourself to someone or something. It is for this reason that I always recommend that we look at the words from the Hebrew perspective, for Hebrew has more meaning of the words. As I explained before, that the definition of the meaning of from the Hebrew perspective is not just a word, but it also look at numbers. It's also include interpretation of the word from the numbers perspective, from the pictorial perspective, the context perspective. Hebrew is more richer in terms of understanding as compared to English or any language for that matter. Hence, if I were just to say to you that the reign of Yahuah is obedience, you would only look at it just from the literal meaning of English word being to obey. But from the Hebrew perspective, the same word that means obedience, which is Shama, tells us more than what obedience or than what English tells us. Shama tells us that it is not only to obey. You must first listen. You must first give attention to something. You must first understand something. You must first submit yourself to something or someone, subject yourself to something or someone. That defines Shama, which is broader than just obeying. Now, with this understanding that we now have of the word Shama, which in English is obedience, as we're now going to be breaking it down in today's teaching as to if Shama means listen, what are we to listen to and why we have to listen to whatever it is that we need to listen to, or whoever it is that we need to listen to. What is it that we must give attention to? Why? Hence the element of understanding. Who are we to submit to? Who are we to subject ourselves to? By doing those four elements, which is the listening, giving attention to, understanding, submitting to or subjecting ourselves to, that's when we're operating in the reign of Yahuah, which is defined as obedience in English, and Shama in Hebrew. So the first thing that you'll be looking at then is, what are we to listen to? What are we to give attention to? Shaul commends us, he encourages us that we must not be led astray, for Yahuah is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that he shall also reap. And this is found in the book of Galatians chapter 6 verse 7. He tells us, he's warning us, admonishing us that Yahuah is not mocked. We might be mocked, we might be fooled, we might be deceived, but he is not deceived. He is not mocked. He cannot be fooled. Whatever it is that a man sows, that shall he reap. You cannot sow apple seed and reap oranges. If you sow apple seed, you will reap apples, which will come obviously from the apple tree. And if you do not sow anything, you will also not reap anything. So life is like that. Whatever it is that you give attention to, that you shall reap. And the same principle applies in both the reign of Yahuah as well as the reign of this world. Anyone who is spending so much time, and the people will tell you that whatever it is that you pay attention to, whatever it is that you focus to or focus on, and you give your time to, you will reap the harvest. Look at the sports person, sports personnel. They spend so much time in training, whether it is tennis, whether it is swimming, whether it is soccer. The talent on its own will not make them win that trophy, will not make them win that position. But it is the hard work that they must put. And that hard work, they actually spend more time, even in those that are competing in different races. They spend more time in training, running in the heat, running in the cold, running in the rain. They don't say, oh, today I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to practice, I'm not going to train today. They don't say that, oh, today it's raining, I feel like just chilling in bed. No, gifted as they are, but they still put much more time than us who are not in that particular sport. And the same principle applies in the reign of Yahuah. When you spend time, you cannot want to perform the miracles that Yahushua did. And he says it in his word. He says that the miracles that he performed, or the works that he did, we will do the same, and even greater works shall we do, for he is going to the Father. And people are focusing on that aspect of performing miracles, doing things that Yahushua did, but they're not spending the much time. They're not investing the time that he did. And the word tells us that he would wake up while it was still dawn, while it was still dark, very early in the morning, and he will go to an isolated place. There he will spend time communing with the Father. There he will spend time with the Father. When the word tells us that when he was 12 years of age, you would understand and imagine what 12-year-olds are doing, playing around, playing either with their iPads or their phone or with their friends or whatever else that they are doing. What was he doing? He was in the temple at the age of 12, asking questions, debating with the rabbis of the time, the scriptures at that particular age. And that's why he then operated in the power that he operated in. It didn't just happen. People think that they can just call for miracles to happen, for provision to happen, for protection to happen. But all along, what were you investing your time in? What were you sowing your seeds into? For that which you were spending time on, that which you were sowing, it's what you will receive. Hence, Galatians 6:7 says, do not be led astray. Do not be confused. Yahuah cannot be mocked. Yahuah is not mocked. That's why he says it in also in the book of Bereshith, otherwise known as Genesis, that while the earth lives, while the earth exists, seed time and harvest time will always take place. Seed time and harvest time will always take place. If you are sowing seeds in his reign, you will reap of the reign of Yahuah. But if you are sowing seeds in the reign of this world, you might not be signing up and say, I am attentively sowing my time or investing my time in this reign of this world. It could be just any other thing that is focusing on self. And I'm not saying there's not something's wrong with self-enrichment, self-empowerment, studying, being creative with what Yahuah, the mind that Yahuah, the brain that he's given you. But what I'm saying to you is that how are your priorities? In the ratio, how much time, when you have those that have time that you are not studying, what are you doing? This is what Galatians chapter 6 verse 7 talks about. That if also we look at the book of Yahuah, otherwise known as Joshua, chapter 1 verse 7 to 8, this scripture answers the question as to what is it that we are to listen to, what is it that we are to give attention to. And that answer, as I said, is found in the book of Yahuah, the son of Nun, otherwise known as Joshua, from chapter 1 verse 7 to 8, and it reads, this is an incident where Yahuah, the son of Nun, otherwise known as Joshua, has taken over from Moshe, because Moshe was the one that led them from midstream or Egypt into the promised land. And as this is now happening, Yahuah has made a declaration that Moshe is not going to enter the promised land for the disobedience, that he hit the rock when he was supposed to point on it when the Israel were complaining in the wilderness, saying that they're thirsty. And he said that he disobeyed Yahuah as a result of disobedience. And also Yahuah was teaching even the other people a lesson, that you being a leader, we as leaders, we are judged even more severely than those that we are pointing the way of Yahuah to them. So that's something that to also be aware of, that it doesn't mean that you did something good for Yahuah, then you have an automatic pass. Moshe sacrificed a lot, starting by denouncing his status as the prince of Egypt and following the slaves, denouncing himself of the privileges that he had and obeying Yahuah to lead his people into the promised land. It was a whole journey that started from him running away from Egypt as Pharaoh wanted to kill him after he had killed the Egyptian, being a shepherd, and whole grown men being a shepherd for the sheep of Jethro, who later would be his father-in-law. He sacrificed a lot. And Yahuah used him mightily to perform all the miracles which he did in midstream. The last of them, the 10th one, being the death of Israel, the death of the firstborn of Israel. Not only the death of the human beings, but the animals as well. All 10 plagues, he used Moshe to open the Red Sea miraculously. But still, one disobedience led to him not entering the promised land. Hence, I always say we must always be walking in humility. Always be conscious that at any point in time we can miss it, and that we need the grace, the favor of Yahuah to lead us, to guide us. Shaul says this, that what he does is that he puts his body into subjection, that lest after having preached to so many people, which we know the ministry of Shaul, otherwise known as Paul, he wrote about 2/3 of what is termed the books in the New Testament. He wrote them. Yahushua performed so many miracles through him, but he was still conscious that having run the race, I have to finish, and I must finish strong and get that crown. That he was conscious that having preached, he is not the one who's going to miss the reign of Yahuah. And the very same people that he preached to are the ones that were converted and repented, that the ones that are entering the kingdom. It is not once saved, always saved. Constantly we need to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. So Yahuah then is instructing Yahushua the son of Nun. Imagine Yahushua the son of Nun, who was a disciple of Moshe, who was a servant of Moshe, that he saw so many miracles being performed by Moshe. Now you must take from this very same great leader. It's intimidating. And as he has to take this position of being a leader, taking over from Moshe, this promised land, it's not that it is vacant. This promised land has people that are occupying it. They are not just people, they are giants. That's why the other 10 of the 12 spies, they came with that report of fear, of saying, even though the promised land, it is beautiful, truly a land flowing with milk and honey, but we saw the sons of Ananak there, the sons of the giants, mighty men of war that were trained in war from birth. And now Yahushua, the son of Nun, needs to conquer this land with the children that were born, or rather with the people that were born in the wilderness, who do not know war, who do not know battle, because they were, everyone that left Mitzrayim, they died in the wilderness as a result of disobedience. All the generation from 20 years and above, they died. It was only the 20 years and below, and those that were born in the wilderness, that Yahushua the son of Nun had to work with to conquer these giants. So it was an intimidating task that he was given. But then Yahuwah says to him in Joshua chapter 1 verse 7 to 8, Yahuwah tells Yahushua the son of Nun, as he is taking over from Moshe, he says to him, Yahushua, son of Nun, or Joshua, only be strong and very courageous, to guard, to do according to all that is written in the Torah, which Moshe, my servant, commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, so that you act wisely wherever you go. Do not let this book of the Torah depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous and act wisely. So in the sense of an element of fear, an element of intimidation that Yahushua the son of Nun has, Yahuwah is not saying to him, be strong to fight this battle. Have courage to conquer these people. Have courage to overcome these people. Have courage to have a strategy that you're going to overthrow your enemy. No, he doesn't. The courage that Yahuwah tells Yahushua the son of Nun to have, it is the courage to guard the Torah. It is the courage to do that which is written in the Torah. It is to be strong. Why? You need courage to obey Yahuwah. You need courage to obey the voice of Yahuwah. You need courage to obey the word of Yahuwah. It is not easy. Anyone who tells you that it is easy to serve Yahuwah or it is easy to follow Yahuwah is lying, is deceiving you. It is hard. The Creator himself had to warn the very same giver of the words, had to warn Yahushua the son of Nun, because there are going to be so many temptations to move away from this word, to move away from these instructions or the Torah. You need courage. When everybody else is doing the opposite, you are to be walking. When everybody else is moving in one particular direction, for you to walk against the tide, to move against the majority, being a minority, you need courage. You need to be strong in Yahuwah and in the power of his might, not in your own ability. Not only did Yahuwah instruct Yahushua the son of Nun the importance of the word, but even Moshe himself, as he was parting ways with them, because he already knew that he's not going to step into the promised land. So he's giving them the last words, the parting shots. People say that you need to take into consideration the last words that the person spoke before they departed or before they died. In this particular case, this is what Moshe is doing. And this we find in the book of Devarim. The book of Devarim in the English Bibles that we use is named Deuteronomy. Devarim in itself means words. So this book, which in English is called, or in our Bible is called Deuteronomy, it's actually called the book of words. For these are the words that Moshe gave to the children of Israel, to the nation of Israel, as to what is it that they were to do, not only to lay hold of this promised land, but to also to keep it, to maintain it. This is then found in the book of Devarim, or Deuteronomy, chapter 6, from verse 4 to verse 9, and it reads, Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah your Yahuwah is one, and you shall love Yahuwah your Yahuwah with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. Verse 6, and these words which I am commanding you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and you shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk, and when you lie down, and when you rise, and shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as the frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Moshe is actually repeating what Yahuah said to Yahushua the son of Nun. Because Yahuah said to Yahushua the son of Nun concerning this word, he says, do not let these words slip from you. Do not turn from them either to the right or to the left. When you do that, when you give attention to, not only when you listen, but when you give attention to these words of Yahuah, then you will act wisely wherever you go. For you to act wise in everything, because we need wisdom to live, you need the word to be living, to be breathing it, not just as a cover at a particular time when you're in crisis and like, oh, by the way, my mother said, or my dad said, or my pastor said, and now you're running to the scriptures. No. It must be a lifestyle. Then you will act wisely at any given situation, at any given point. And Yahuah tells Yahushua the son of Nun, he says that these words must not depart from your mouth. Meditate on them day and night. Guard to do according to what is written in them. For when you do that, when you do what is written in the word, your way will be prosperous. People want shortcuts to prosperity. People want microwave solution to prosperity or to be prosperous and to act wisely. That can only be found in you meditating, giving attention to, obeying, which is to listen to give attention to the word of Yahuah, which is found in his Torah. Torah is instructions, how Yahuah instructed us. A lot of people look at Torah as, from what they've heard, that from the Judaism it's for the Jews. There's no such thing. Torah simply means instructions. What instructions? Yahuah is giving instructions to his people as to what is it that they must do to prosper, what is it that they must do to walk in the blessings. And the very same instruction also tells us that should we not walk in obedience, should we disobey his commands, his instructions, these are the curses that will come upon us. So the Torah is like a communication book, an instruction book between the father and his children. It is not a religious book. It is it's like a testament. When a father passes away, or a mother, a parent, they leave a testament to their children and they say, listen, now that I'm gone, this is what belongs to you. For you to inherit this particular investment or this particular livestock or this particular thing, these are the conditions that I'm giving you. It is that important. And Moshe tells not only Yahushua the son of Nun or Joshua, but he tells the entire nation of Israel. He is telling them that these words that I'm commanding you today shall be in your heart. Impress them. Not only that you are to know them, because a lot of the time, especially in our times, we get so over-occupied with the people that are in business, with our businesses or commitments or jobs and so many other things, that we end up being the ones spending so much time as parents in the word of Yahuah, and our kids are raised by a technology, whether it is iPad or whatever, tablets or games on their phones, or whatever thing that we compensate for not being there with our children. But it is our responsibility, I spoke about this before, that we cannot outsource our responsibility as parents to raise up our children in the fear of Yahuah. We cannot outsource our responsibilities to train up our children in the fear and in the word of Yahuah. Hence, Moshe said that we are to impress these commands, these instruction to our children as well. It's not even the responsibility of Sunday school to be teaching your children the words and the ways of Yahuah, or Saturday school for some of us that are observing Shabbat. It's not the responsibility of the pastor, of the prophets or the teachers. It's us as parents that have a responsibility. And that is why when Yahuah chose Abram, he said that Abram will teach his household. Because not only do we teach our children, but our lifestyle must be reflective of the ways of Yahuah. And Moshe says to Yisrael, impress these commands, these instructions to your children. Speak of them when you sit, when you are in your house, when you walk, when you lie down. What is this saying? It talks about attention. What occupies you? Are you occupied by movies? Are you occupied by series on Netflix or any of the channels? Are you occupied by entertainment? Are you occupied by sports? Are you occupied by your job? Are you occupied by your business? What is it that takes most of your time? In that answer, do not be mocked. And Yahuah cannot be mocked. Whatsoever a man sows, that he shall reap. And that is what we are to pay attention to. The book of Jubilee, the book of Yobel, chapter 2, from verse 9 to verse 10, I went through this book, the book of Jubilees, when I was comparing the 6 days of creation. You would remember, you can go to the playlist titled The 6th Day of Creation, where we're looking at when the angel that was sent by Yahuah to Moshe to narrate the history of creation, because it got lost over time, the writings. The narration that we find in the book of Parashith or Genesis is very limited as compared to that which we see and that which you find in the book of Jubilee. And hence I encourage that those that have access, you can have access to the book of Jubilees on internet, and some of the versions have the book of Jubilees, and most of the books that we remove from the Bible that we have access to, one of those versions is the version called Cepher, Cepher. I spoke about it. But in this particular book, in this particular chapter, I want us to zoom on day 4 of creation. Because the day 4 of creation, when you read the book of Genesis, it tells us that Yahuah created the sun, the moon, and the stars on day 4 of creation. But remember, as he's creating the moon and the sun and the stars on day 4 of creation, there was creation that took place on day 1, day 2, day 3. And the word tells us that on day 1, he created 7 creation, or he made 7 works or 7 creation. One of those 7 creation, let me just see if I can still be able to remember them from the teaching that I gave. On day 1 of creation, Yahuah created the Aretz, or the earth. He created the Shamayim, or the heavens. He created the Mayim, or the waters. He created the Ruachoth, or the spirits, or the angels. The angels were created on day 1, which is also what I said, that the book of Genesis does not tell us about the creation of the angel, but we see this in the book of Jubilee, that angels were created on day 1. He created the angels. And the 5th creation that he created was the abysses, or known as the deep, which I also gave a teaching as to when people die, where do they go, which is at the bottom of the earth. He then created light and he created darkness. So darkness is a creation of Yahuah. A lot of people say that darkness is the absence of light. No, darkness is a creation created by Yahuah. Just like he created the light, he also created darkness. And this he created on day one. And that's what confused people when they talk about the sun, that the sun was created in day 4, as to what happened then if the sun, from our understanding, is to give light. So how was Yahuah creating on day 1, day 2, and day 3? Because there was no light, because the light as we know it, as we understand with our limited minds, only came about, or only Yahuah created in day 4. So what was there? And these are the things that are not written in the book of Genesis. These are the creations that are not written in the book of Genesis. For the book of Genesis or Parashit only tells us that Yahuah created the heavens and the earth, but it doesn't go too specific in the details. Now, with that understanding, we are now on day 4 of creation. He's creating the sun, but he already has created the light and darkness, and he created this on day 1. Now, if we read Jubilees chapter 2, verse 9 to 10, it tells us, and actually this part of the function of the sun is also written in the book of Barashith, or in the book of Genesis, as to that Yahuah created the sun other than to prosper that which is growing from the earth. This is another responsibility. This is another function of the sun that we skip through the scriptures when we read them. As I said, even if you read the book of Genesis, the book of Genesis itself tells us that the sun was to divide the light from the darkness. So both books, the book of Jubilee and the book of Genesis, tells us this one critical aspect, one critical function amongst many of the sun. It was to divide the light from the darkness. What does that mean? Because Yahuah created the light and the darkness on day 1, so it means on day 1, both the light and darkness are existing as he created them. On day 2, both the light and the darkness are existing as he created them. On day 3, both the darkness and the light are existing as he created them. What am I saying? I'm not just repeating this for fun. I'm saying to you, at any given point in time, there is always light, there is always darkness. At any given point in time, there is always light and there is always darkness. That which divides these two is the sun, which was created on day 4. That which divides these two is the sun. That is why, even in the absence of the moon, let's say you don't see the moon because maybe it's a cloudy day, it's a cloudy night, there are no stars in the sky, there's no moon. There's never a time where it is pitch black that you cannot see anything. Why? There is light. And how are we told that these two, the light and the darkness, are divided by the sun? So when the sun rises, these two are still there, the light and the darkness. But when the sun rises, light takes dominance. Light predominates, has dominion, has dominance. And when the sun, remember, because it's the movement of the sun that divides these two that are existing at any given point in time. So when the sun sets, then the darkness dominates, which was coexisting with the sun anyway, with the light anyway. But what divides the two is the sun. When the sun rises, then the light dominates, supersedes the darkness. When the sun sets, then the darkness dominates and supersedes the light. This is a mystery. It's a mystery that is even telling us that in our lives, at any given point in time, we are exposed to the kingdom of Yahuah and the kingdom of Hasatan, or the kingdom of this world. At any given point in time, we are exposed. There is the kingdom of darkness. There is the kingdom of light. At any given point in time, it's there. What is going to have dominance over your life? What is going to have dominance over your situation? It's what you are going to lift up. It's what you're going to focus on. It's what you're going to give attention to. It's what you're going to lift up. In a situation where you are facing a crisis in your life, are you going to say, oh me, poor me? Yes, these things are happening because I am black. These things are happening because I am from poor family. You are now exonerating, magnifying the negative, which at any given point in time there's a negative and there is positive. Light and darkness, they were created on day one. And what divides them is the sun. And if we hypothetically speaking, or speaking from as a parable, or spiritually speaking, actually, let us convert this sun that was created on day 4, S-U-N, spiritually, to S-O-N, the Son of Yahuah, the Son of Aluah, the Son of the Most High. He is the one, when you lift him up, hallelujah, in the midst of the situation, you could be facing a situation of darkness, as they are coexisting at any given point in time, light and darkness. What are you going to exonerate at the time? What are you going to declare with your mouth at the time? What are you going to believe in at the time? What are you going to trust in at the time? What are you going to declare at the time? It's going to be either of the two, the light or the darkness. So it is for this reason that I implore you, as you are listening to this message, things do not just happen. There is always a choice. There is always the kingdom there are always these two kingdoms that are at war. There is a battle of the kingdom, and it is why this series is titled The Reign of Yahuah, the Kingdom of Yahuah. Do not be deceived. Do not be led astray and thinking that you are in the middle ground. There is no middle ground. By not choosing Yahuah, by not choosing the kingdom of Yahuah, automatically the kingdom of Hasatan will have power over you. The kingdom of this world, the reign of this world, automatically will reign and have dominance over your life, depending on who you exalt. depending on who you give attention to, what you give attention to. This is then the teaching about what is it that you are to give attention to. Yahuah said, Yahuah the son of Nun, he said, choose this day which Yahuah are you going to follow. Choose this day which God are you going to follow. But as for me and my house, we will serve the living Yahuah. Yahuah is his name. And Aliyah, or otherwise known as Elijah, also put the people to the test. He said, enough is enough. I've had it with you. One leg in this kingdom of Yahuah, another leg in the kingdom of this world, or the reign of this world. Choose. Choose. If Baal be your God, serve him. But if Yahuah our Yahuah then is the Yahuah, the only one, serve him. Choose. So at any given point in time, we have to choose. And I implore you, I beg of you, I ask you, choose wisely. For in him there is life, abundant life, eternal life. You might see other people and compare yourself that they are having the good things of this earth, that they are prospering, that they are rich, that they are wealthy, that they are going ahead of you. But that will be short-lived. For the blessings of Yahuah, when he gives to us, he adds no sorrow to it. I was listening to one family member, which it broke my heart, and I know I'm from that system, that bondage system of being a glorified slave, earning huge salaries, having great benefits, but not having time with my family, not having time with my children. I could not even drop my children at school, nor pick them up, nor be there on their sports day. But I was compensating the time that I'm not having with them with money, with the riches of this world, which was short-lived. When the enemy sees that I'm not playing by the game throughout, and then it's like, I'm going to show you. It's a matter of time when you realize that this is being a glorified slave. You cannot even enjoy the money that you have. I used to go on a holiday being by the beach with a laptop, and I'm struggling to get network connection by the beach. The very same family that I'm working so hard for, the very same children that I have, that are having the good clothes and shoes and whatever good things, going for good holiday, they cannot even spend time with me because I'm a servant, I'm a slave, not even a servant, I'm a slave to someone. Because they are paying me, I must work. So this family of mine was even telling me that he is working in this good institution in South Africa, but he cannot even drive the expensive car that he has. He needs a driver because his state of mind is not well. He could fall into an accident, he could crash another car. That's why they've allocated a driver for him. What's the point? You have the money, you can't even enjoy it. Somebody must go do grocery for you. These are the things that we need to be aware of. This reign of this world. T's and C's apply. You're going to pay your life. And as soon as you die, because he was even telling us that in 1 month, 3 people in his own department died. And they died of stress-related diseases, heart attack, stroke, in 1 month. They're going to bury you. And they're going to pay out a policy. The following month, maybe even month is too long, they'll replace with another person. The beat goes on, as we say in Sesotho. The beat goes on. What about your children? What are they going to do with this money? Who's going to raise your children? Who's going to be there for your family? For money cannot replace you. These are the things we talk about with the reign of Yahuah. He says, his reign is not about eating and drinking, but blessings and blessings forevermore if we walk in obedience. So the last part of the definition of obedience as we close